Right now, somewhere in England, a child is kicking a football in a park. Maybe it is a muddy field in Manchester. Maybe it is a concrete courtyard in London. It does not matter. What matters is that this child is playing the game their country invented, the game their ancestors gave to the world, the game that has spread to every nation on earth. And that country has never won the World Cup. Think about what that means for a moment. England did not just play football first. England wrote the rules. England built the first clubs. England exported the sport on ships that carried coal and cotton. England handed football to Brazil, to Germany, to Argentina, to Italy, to France, and then watched every single one of those countries lift the trophy that England itself has never touched. How does that happen? How does the inventor lose to the student? How do you create something so powerful, so transformative, so globally dominant, and then stand in its shadow for over a century? The answer is stranger than you think. It starts in 1863. That is the year a group of men in London sat down at the Freemasons Tavern on Great Queen Street and agreed, for the first time in history, to write down exactly how football should be played. They called themselves the Football Association. They produced 13 rules, and in doing so, they separated football from rugby, from the dozens of chaotic folk games that had been played across Britain for centuries, and they gave the modern world its most popular sport. England did not just invent football in the abstract sense. England invented football administration. England invented the league system. England invented the concept of a competitive football season. The Football League, founded in 1888, was the world's first professional football competition. When other countries were still learning the game, England already had a fully functioning, commercially organized professional sport. By the time the first FIFA World Cup was held in Uruguay in 1930, football had already traveled the world with English sailors, English railway workers, and English merchants. British engineers building railways in Argentina taught local workers the game on their lunch breaks. Swiss students who had studied in England brought it back to Zurich. Dutch traders spread it through the Indonesian archipelago. The entire map of world football was drawn by English hands. And yet, England did not even enter the 1930 World Cup, or 1934, or 1938. This is the first clue. England, for most of the early 20th century, did not believe the World Cup was worth entering. The Football Association, remember, had written the rules. Why would they submit to a competition organized by FIFA, an organization they had helped found but did not fully trust? The FA withdrew from FIFA twice, in 1920 and again in 1928, primarily over disputes about what constituted amateurism. England believed they were above the need for external validation. They had invented the game. What did they need to prove? Sports historian David Goldblatt, in his landmark work on global football culture, describes this attitude as a kind of institutional narcissism. The English football establishment genuinely believed they were the best team in the world, not because they had tested this belief internationally, but because they had never been seriously challenged at home. The Home Nations Championship, played between England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, was considered by English football authorities to be a better measure of quality than any World Cup. It is the logic of a civilization so confident in its own superiority that it refuses to compete in contests it did not design. England finally entered the World Cup in 1950 in Brazil. It was their first appearance. They were among the favourites. The bookmakers, the newspapers, the footballing world all expected England to win. After all, They had invented the game. After all, they were the masters, and everyone else was still the student. Then the United States beat them 1-0. Let that sit with you. England, in their first World Cup, were knocked out in the group stage by the United States. The country that barely played football, the country that considered it a minor novelty compared to baseball and American football, the country where the game had almost no professional infrastructure, defeated the nation that had handed the world the sport. The goal was scored by gaetjens, a Haitian-American player studying at Columbia University in New York. He deflected a shot with his head in the 37th minute. England, with their professional league, their century of history, their institutional pride, went home early. This moment in football history has never been fully explained to the English public's satisfaction. It is treated as an anomaly, a fluke, a one-off disaster. But it was not a fluke. It was a symptom. The symptom was isolation. While England perfected